What is up, guys? Lord Nick here, bringing you another One Piece related video. This video, guys, we are bringing back the weekly Becca report. Between my friend clowning on me and memeing about how he missed these videos, I legitimately put out a poll to the community last week, and the community actually seemed pretty happy about having these come back. So for those that don't understand what the weekly Becca report was supposed to be, it was supposed to be any big news in the world of One Piece that would affect Rebecca, be it tournament results, be it good deck lists coming out, and then generally I am reporting my weeklies. I have also then, with the reboot here, I'm opening it up to involve people giving out weekly questions, be them about theoreticals that could have made Rebecca better or could make Rebecca better in the future, or ideas for deck lists, or things that they just want to share. You know, they want to shout out how they did, or shout out that they're starting up a YouTube channel or something like that. So just kind of opening up the platform to be a little bit more expansive to the community at large, more so than just me and the community. Especially because I'm kind of taking a step back from One Piece as a game in general. I still enjoy the game a bit. I still really love Rebecca. I just haven't had the same drive to play it competitively. I just don't have a good group in terms of people that I want to go to events to, and having gone to a Flesh and Blood event recently this weekend with a group of friends and having a hell of a fun time despite doing terribly, I felt like that's more important to me, and so because of that I'm kind of sticking more to Flesh and Blood being my main game, whereas One Piece was my main game, and so I'm kind of a little torn there on how I feel about it. So I kind of wanted to open it up so the community could take part of it more, so that it's not just like, hey guys, this is how you be competitive, when I'm stepping away from trying to do that at all. Though I will still try to make it out to events, and the goal in the future is to go into being more competitive if I can. I don't know if I have that drive for this game anymore. That's a whole different topic though. Anyhow, Op10 list. So for those that didn't watch my last video, this is generally the list that I am looking at. My reasoning and rationale for this is very much similar to why the Kuzan build existed to begin with, but there are some massive changes and philosophy switches for this next set compared to what I had been on the current set. So in my current OP09, I talked about how I felt like Orlombus was more or less a trap card to be using, as a 4-drop is kind of easy to remove, and the mill power, because it kind of makes our top end less consistent. Well, a big problem with the mill power was the fact that the only other mill cards that I could really run would be Searcher Rebecca and 1-drop Leos. And I didn't really like running the 1-drop Leos, as Kyros kind of did the same job, and was a actual fighting body. Whereas with the Leos, they just kind of milled and were yes, they help with KOing and such, but ultimately they didn't help as much as I'd hoped they would. At least in the current setting, though maybe I was wrong, because I did test it with what was the Sims version of Kabu, and the deck felt great. So, maybe I'm a little wrong in that belief, but because those were really the only cards that milled us, I didn't feel like there was a need to do it. Well, we are now also running a 4 of Zoro, and with that, we've moved from 7-drop Luffy to 6-drop Luffy, which means that our breakpoint for cards that we need in trash is a lot lower to start putting stuff back. So there's that. But because of the Zoro's always milling 2 every time we play him, we have a more consistent route of being able to go through the deck. That's kind of the spot that Leo fit into, but there were just better options like Brooks in that regard. So we've replaced Brooks. We have Zoro's completely. You could argue that Brook is still very valuable, but with the inclusion of cards like Frankie, Orlombus also has more value in the fact that you can KO your own Frankie to get back a Kyros, or to get back a Scarlet, or get back a Rebecca, or get back whatever you really need that's 3 cost or less that is a Dressrosa character, which, if you notice in this list, is a very large number of options. And the fact that we can do it on our turn as well as our opponent's turn makes Frankie super versatile and super useful as a blocker overall. So we can get our innate value out of Frankie, be it that we use him as a swinging body to help clear board, or to keep him standing as a blocker, or just to have him as something that swings at face one time, and then we use Orlombus to reduce and be able to KO, right? Like, that's a great combo piece, just being able to be like, all right, I have a Frankie. Frankie survived a turn. I'm going to play this Orlombus. Orlombus is going to kill the Frankie. Because of that, Frankie's going to grab us a character. He'll grab the Kyros, and now that thing that we -4 that was a 5-drop is dead. Right, we got to swing in with the Frankie, get rid of him, get in with some extra removal. So that synergy in and of itself made me kind of lean more towards Orlombus. We now have more pieces that work with him, more pieces that synergize with him to make him a better piece. On top of that, because Zoro can rest stage or leader, he does fit really well with Hajruden, but to be able to utilize, multiple effects like that every turn, the better route would then to be having Orlombus as kind of the pick, because if we just KO a one drop, then guess what? It doesn't rest our leader like Hajruden has to, and we could potentially play a Zoro to pop a 4 and a Zoro to pop whatever we reduced. So, it has a bit better synergy in that regard. Ultimately, it is very, very much still a very high control deck with a lot of potential variance to it. But it's also still a little bit difficult, but I enjoy that difficultness. There are going to be people that will pop up with other builds, and hopefully folks that will toss them into the next weekly Becca report. And if you're one of them, join the Discord to be able to do that. Link will be down in the description. So the last thing of the video, guys, we're going to talk about Penguin's theory. So this is what I will be coining as Penguin's theory. It's a question that all of us may have asked if you've played Rebecca for a while, but the question is, would Rebecca be better as a 4-life or 3-life leader with 6k power? So when we look at Rebecca currently, what are the pros and cons of Rebecca as a leader? So obviously the biggest con is the fact that she cannot swing. The biggest pros, she has constant ability to get card draw with her leader ability. She's 2 very synergistic colors for control decks. And then on top of that, she has 5 life, which most dual color leaders do not have. So ultimately, her biggest weakness is she can't attack, which means you lose a lot of tempo, and the game is very much built around that aspect. But she gets some powerful stuff to offset that. But over time, there have been other leaders that have shared the color combination with her and proved that just having an extra life and a built-in card draw that does cost isn't nearly as good as having 1 less life and card draw that you don't have to pay anything for. So ultimately, the question does pop up: was there a way that they could have errated Rebecca or made a Rebecca that had less life but more power? Would that have ultimately done better? So let's kind of review what are the pros and cons of the new Becca that he's kind of proposing. So the pros is pretty straightforward. You are harder to hit as a leader. So if we are at 4 or 3 life but we're at 6k leader, then any 5k character has to have a Dawn just to go even. And if they want to break ahead and force a 2k out of hand, they have to make it a 7k swing. So ultimately, it makes us better into actually what the meta decks are, right? Most of them are only swinging with 5k bodies. The occasional 6k does pop up in terms of like Doflamingo, and then the Dofi leader swinging 7. But if he's swinging 7, 1 2k gets us out of it, whereas currently it's a 2k and a 1, right? So less cards have to come out of our hand to keep us safe, which is always super good. And 2k become more valuable because if somebody does have to put a Dawn on there and just goes, and they decide, all right, I have a 5k body, I'm going to make it into a 7k. Well, 7k no longer is the breakpoint. It's now 8k. It costs 1 extra Dawn to hit the breakpoint to cost us 2 cards. And that is a lot of Dawn investment onto lower cost bodies. So it's a lot of protection that it offers, which can shore up the weakness that she has against a lot of aggro decks, right? It will make Dofi's swings a lot more awkward. We KO all of his 6k bodies, and he constantly has to put Dawn under his 5k bodies just to break even swings. Now, what are the cons? From his proposal, we still cannot attack. He did mention that in later comments that, yes, we don't get to attack. We still are a leader who is down on tempo, but we are technically safer because they can't just get free swings while developing anymore against us. So there is, the con is then effectively kind of reduced, right? Though with less life, we actually have less life to defend ourselves with. 4-cost leaders generally have to be really, really powerful to just 4-life leaders, and less have to be powerful enough to negate these aspects. We do see that purple red Luffy can survive on 3, but a big part of that is he also still gets to swing, so he gets to use that 6k body of his own to start pressuring his opponent. And he's in a color combination that allows him to ramp out and is designed to ramp out Dawn so he can get ahead faster than his opponent. So the downside is you have less life, so it's easier to finish you off if they could actually do the damage, but you are harder to hit, and you still have better tempo on your opponent. Rebecca would not gain that tempo aspect. It's just a protection thing. So because there's only protection, a loss of life overall means that we are easier to kill still. So it balances out to go 50-50 there, right? I would say, being a little harder to hit does get weighed out. So say if we were a 6K can't swing leader, I'd say they'd have to leave her at 4 health. Right? Anything lower than that would make her pretty much unplayable. Now, the other big thing that she would then have is less card advantage. And we see this in decks kind of like Vegapunk, right? Vegapunk really relies on having good triggers in his life to net back the cards that he is using to put cards in life. And the fact that he can't swing. So you can start at lower life, like in a Vegapunk situation, but your deck has to be tuned to be able to do things that prevent it. So Rebecca being at lower life, though, very much negates a lot of the card draw aspect she has. It does make it easier for her to be able to use the current leader ability, which is what he speculates she would still have. But the problem with that is that sometimes just taking a life early to get an extra card can help you swing the tempo of a game as Rebecca currently. Because of the fact that we can't swing, going up a card above where we need for our leader ability can stink if they're all bricks and you can't do anything with them. But in most situations, that extra bit of card draw that we get from taking a couple of life hits is actually very beneficial for winning us the match. So ultimately, while some of the cons of the current build are the fact that she is very susceptible to aggro, and this could help solve some of those susceptibilities to aggro, it doesn't fix some of the innate flaws that she has as a leader right now, which is the fact that she cannot get advantage through early turns. She herself is very weak in the early turns, so she relies very heavily on the cards that she plays. She would still rely very heavily on the cards she plays here, and it wouldn't really change how you build the deck. All it would do is put a little more onus on your opponent to have to be better with their numbers to hit you. So I honestly don't know if this type of change of going to a 6K leader would make her so powerful that she'd actually be viable again, or if it would just be more or less a net neutral change. But I don't think it would be a net negative change, other than the loss of card advantage. That getting less card advantage from your life would be a negative to how she likes to play. But ultimately, I don't know if that is enough of a negative to negate the fact that 2Ks become stronger, 1Ks become stronger. You're just in general harder to hit. It's a give and take. You gain more defense, technically speaking, because you're harder to hit. But if you brick up, you're still going to lose, right? Like if all you draw are bricks and you can't actually like counter anything, then having that 6K life would only really start negating attacks if there are 4 attacks coming in at 6K in terms of it, but negating plays, sorry, not negating attacks, but like it would only really cost your opponent 1 extra Dawn on a leader swing to go even swing. Same thing with their 5K characters. So if you still have, you're kind of forced to build more counter in your deck to be able to counter out your opponent's stuff, but you're still losing tempo. I don't know. I don't think that this type of option in theory would offer enough of a power boost for her to really make me want to lose that extra life that she has. If she was a 4 life 6K leader, I think that she would generally be maybe slightly more powerful. But there was also the option of, does she become like a red purple Luffy and go down to a 3 life leader? And I think that would be way too much tempo loss and too easy to kill. So if they were to make her a 6K leader, she'd have to be a 4 life. But I'd also say that there'd be some retooling to her leader ability a little bit, just due to the fact that you're already down 1 extra card than you are currently. But that about does it for this week's report, guys. There's not much going on in the world of Rebecca. I mean, I've done some OP10 testing. It seems like a lot of the community is starting to do some of their OP10 testing, and have had moderate to good success in their locals recently. So if you guys are, like I said before, if you're interested in any of that stuff, join the Discord, hang out with all the other Rebecca mains. And if you want to have anything come out in next week's video, there will be a poll that will go up here in the next day or two. So feel free to comment and leave it on there. And until next time, guys, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye, guys.